In America, 1 out of 3 viral space stories starts the same way: a monster too dangerous to exist, and a human too calm to care. This is one of those stories, but the truth behind it will shock you. Somewhere near the edge of charted space, Council of 1,000 Worlds keeps a list. It is called the Threat Registry. Only a few names sit at the very top. Names of creatures so dangerous, entire fleets were built just to watch them. One name has stayed at the very top for 3,000 years. It is called the Void Reaper. Historians say it ended 3 empires. Scientists say it can never be tamed. Soldiers say it can never be caught. But on a small mining moon, far from any council building, a young man named Ryan Calder found something curled up inside a broken cargo pod. It was small. It was shaking. It looked hungry. He did not check a database. He did not call for backup. He just picked it up, wrapped it in his jacket, and carried it home. He named it Duke. This video will show you 3 things nobody expected. First, why the galaxy's most feared weapon grew up thinking it was a dog. Second, why an entire council fleet was sent to erase one small mining station from every map. Third, why the ending of this story changed how the whole galaxy sees humans forever. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Ryan Calder was 26 years old. He lived on a mining moon called Corvus 7. It was a cold, gray rock at the edge of human space. Most people did not choose to live there. They ended up there. Ryan was one of them. He worked as a repair technician. His job was simple. When machines broke, he fixed them. When ships broke, he fixed them too. He was good with his hands. He was not good with people. He kept to himself. He had one small home near the edge of the mining colony, close to the old scrapyard. Most nights, he ate alone. Most nights, he liked it that way. Corvus 7 was not a pretty place. The sky was always gray. The wind never stopped. Metal towers rose out of the rock like broken teeth. Cargo ships landed every few days, dropped off supplies, and left again. Nobody stayed longer than they had to. Nobody except Ryan. One evening, after a long shift, Ryan walked home through the scrapyard. This was his usual path. It was faster than the main road, and quieter too. The scrapyard was full of broken ships, old crates, and rusted machines nobody wanted anymore. Most people avoided it at night. Ryan did not mind it. He liked the silence. That night, the silence broke. He heard a small sound. It was soft, like something scratching against metal. Ryan stopped walking. He listened again. There it was, a scratching sound, coming from behind a pile of broken crates. Most people would have walked away. Corvus 7 had dangerous animals, ones that came out at night. But Ryan was curious. He grabbed a metal pipe from the ground, just in case, and walked closer. Behind the crates was a small cargo pod. It was old and cracked open, like it had crash-landed a long time ago. The pod was marked with strange symbols Ryan did not recognize. They were not human symbols. They looked official, important, like something from a government ship, not a trader. Inside the pod, curled into a tight ball, was a small creature. It was about the size of a large dog. Its skin looked like armor, dark gray with faint glowing lines running across its back. Its eyes were closed. Its sides moved up and down, slow and weak. It was breathing, But barely. Ryan crouched down. He did not touch it right away. He just looked at it. The creature opened one eye. Ryan froze. For a moment, neither of them moved. The creature's eye was a deep amber color, almost glowing in the dark scrapyard. It looked exhausted. It looked scared. It did not attack. It did not run. It just watched him, too weak to do anything else. "Hey," Ryan said quietly. "You're not doing so good. Are you?" The creature made a small sound, almost like a whimper. It sounded nothing like a monster. It sounded like something hurt and alone. Ryan should have called the colony's safety office. That was the rule on Corvus 7. Any unknown creature, especially one that came from a crashed pod with strange symbols, had to be reported. But Ryan did not think about the rule. He thought about the sound the creature made. It reminded him of something small and helpless. He took off his jacket and wrapped it around the creature. It was warm, at least, and better than lying on cold metal. The creature did not fight him. It let him pick it up. It was heavier than it looked, but Ryan managed to carry it the rest of the way home. That night, Ryan set the creature down near his small heater. He gave it water in a bowl. At first, it did not drink. Then, slowly, it lifted its head and drank a little. Ryan watched it the whole time, unsure what he was even looking at. He searched a few local databases for information. He found nothing that matched. No records, no warnings, nothing on Corvus 7 local systems about a creature like this. Whatever it was not from anywhere near this moon. Over the next few days, the creature grew stronger. It began to walk around Ryan's small home, sniffing at furniture, exploring corners. It followed Ryan from room to room, always staying close. When Ryan sat down, it sat beside him. When Ryan slept, it slept near the door, like it was guarding the place. Ryan started calling it Duke. It felt like the right name. Simple, familiar, like something you would name a dog. He did not know that somewhere far away, on a world he would never visit, a very different conversation was starting. A conversation about a missing item. A very dangerous missing item. But on Corvus 7, none of that mattered yet. All that mattered was a quiet young man and a strange creature, sitting together by a heater, on a cold gray moon at the edge of human space. Weeks passed. Duke kept growing. At first, this did not worry Ryan. Animals grow. That was normal. But Duke grew fast. Within a month, he was the size of a large wolf. Within 2 months, he was the size of a small bear. His armored skin grew thicker, and the glowing lines along his back became brighter, especially at night. Ryan noticed other things too. Small things. Strange things. One evening, a group of local scrappers tried to break into Ryan's storage shed. This happened sometimes on Corvus 7. People were desperate, and supplies were valuable. Ryan was asleep when it happened. He did not hear the intruders. But Duke did. The next morning, Ryan found the shed door bent completely out of shape. There were scratch marks on the metal, deep and precise. Outside, in the dirt, there were signs that several people had run away in a hurry. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was even close to the house. Duke had simply stood there, low and silent, until the intruders decided It was not worth the risk. Ryan patted Duke's head that morning. "Good boy," he said. Duke leaned into his hand, tail thumping against the ground like any happy dog would. Word started to spread around the small colony. People whispered about the beast living near the scrapyard. Some avoided that side of town completely. Others were simply curious. A few asked Ryan directly what kind of animal Duke was. Ryan never had a good answer. "I don't really know," he would say. "He's just Duke." That answer never satisfied anyone, especially not Mira Akefer. Myra ran the colony's small trading post. She was sharp, observant, and had lived on Corvus 7 long enough to know when something did not add up. She had seen a lot of strange things pass through her shop over the years: smugglers, broken tech, the occasional lost traveler. But she had never seen anything quite like Duke. One afternoon, she walked over to Ryan's place with a delivery. Duke was outside, lying near the door, soaking up the weak sunlight. Myra stopped a good distance away. "That thing is getting big, Ryan," she said. "He's fine," Ryan replied, setting down his tools. "He's gentle." Myra studied Duke carefully. The creature lifted his head and looked back at her, calm and unbothered. There was something about his eyes, though, something too aware, too intelligent for an ordinary animal. "You ever think about where he came from?" Myra asked. "That pod you found him in wasn't a normal cargo drop. Those symbols on it, I've seen markings like that before, a long time ago, on a council transport ship. Government-level stuff." Ryan shrugged. He was just a scared animal in a broken box. Doesn't matter where he came from. Myra did not look convinced, but she let it go. She had learned a long time ago that people on Corvus 7 rarely wanted their business questioned. She left the delivery and walked away, glancing back once at Duke before disappearing down the road. That night, Ryan sat outside with Duke, watching the stars. Duke rested his large head on Ryan's lap, the glowing lines along his back pulsing gently in the darkness. Ryan scratched behind Duke's ear, and the giant creature made a low, rumbling sound, almost like a purr. "You're not so scary," Ryan said softly. "No matter what anybody says." He had no idea how wrong that sentence would soon become. 3 days later, a small unmarked ship landed on the far edge of Corvus 7 docking pad. It did not carry any trade goods. It did not register with the colony's usual supply schedule. A single figure stepped out, wearing a long gray coat and carrying a compact scanning device. The figure moved through the colony quietly, asking careful questions at the trading post, the repair docks, and the local bar. The questions were always about the same thing: the crashed cargo pod, and anything unusual that had come from it. Myra answered carefully. She did not mention Ryan by name, but she did mention the scrapyard. She did mention rumors of a strange, fast-growing creature living near there. The figure thanked her politely, paid for the information with a small credit chip, and walked back toward the docking pad. Before boarding the ship, they sent a single encrypted message out into deep space. The message was short. It contained only a location, a description, and one word that had not been spoken seriously in over 3,000 years. Confirmed. Far beyond Corvus 7, in a chamber built specifically for the galaxy's most dangerous decisions, that single word would soon set an entire fleet in motion. The Galactic Council met inside a massive circular chamber, built high above a planet called Threnos Prime. It was one of the oldest buildings in known space. 1,000 species had representatives there. Some walked on legs. Some floated. Some communicated only through light patterns. But when the threat registry was mentioned, every single one of them fell silent. The confirmation message from Corvus 7 had already reached the highest levels of Council command. Within hours, an emergency session was called. A tall, silver-skinned counselor named Vesk stood at the center platform. Her voice, calm and controlled, echoed through the chamber. 3 months ago, she began. A transport vessel carrying a single-sealed specimen was lost during supply run near the outer trade lanes. The specimen was recorded as juvenile stage, NO inactive, contained under threat level Omega protocols. A murmur spread across the chamber. Threat level Omega was the highest classification in the entire registry. Fewer than 5 entries in galactic history had ever received it. The specimen, Vesk continued, belongs to a species designated Void Reaper. Some of you are old enough to remember why that name still causes fear across 1,000 worlds. For those unfamiliar, the historical record was clear, even if parts of it remained debated among scholars. According to Council archives, the Void Reaper species had reportedly been responsible for the collapse of 3 ancient empires, long before most current civilizations had even developed space travel. Sources within the Council's historical division suggested that early attempts to study, contain, or weaponize the species had ended in catastrophic failure. Some records claimed entire star systems had gone dark within days of single Void Reaper reaching full maturity. Whether every detail of these ancient accounts was fully accurate remained a subject of academic debate. But one thing was not debated. The fear was real, and it had lasted for 3,000 years. The specimen, Vesk said, was being transported for long-term secure storage. It is, according to our last confirmed data, less than 1 standard year old. Still growing. Still developing. A representative from a species known for blunt, direct communication interrupted. And where is it now? Vesk allowed a brief pause before answering. A remote human mining colony. Designation: Corvus 7. The chamber erupted into noise. Council members spoke over one another, some in alarm, some in disbelief. Humans were a relatively new species to galactic society, still viewed by many older civilizations as unpredictable, aggressive, and difficult to categorize. The idea of an unrestrained Void Reaper specimen living among them, unmonitored, was almost unthinkable to most in the room. How long has it been there? Someone asked. Local reports, Vesk answered carefully, suggest it has been in the possession of single human individual for several months. Growing, apparently unrestrained, with no containment measures whatsoever. Another voice, sharp with concern, cut through the chamber. If it reaches full maturity uncontrolled, do we have any estimate of the risk? Vesk's expression remained neutral, though her voice grew quieter. Based on historical projections, if this specimen follows growth pattern similar to previous confirmed cases, full maturity could occur within the next standard year. At that stage, according to ancient records, containment becomes extremely difficult. In some historical cases, containment was reported as impossible. The chamber fell silent again. A senior counselor, an elderly being named Threll, who had served longer than almost anyone present, finally spoke. His voice was slow, careful, weighted with old memory. "We are not here to debate history," he said. "We are here to decide action. I recommend an immediate response. A specialized containment fleet, dispatched under highest priority, tasked with recovering or neutralizing the specimen before it reaches critical growth stage." Vesk nodded slowly. "The Warden's Division has already been placed on standby, pending Council approval." The vote that followed was almost unanimous. Within the hour, a formal order was issued. A Warden Containment Fleet, one of the most elite and secretive branches of Council military operations, was authorized to travel to Corvus 7 under emergency protocol. Their mission was simple. On paper, locate the specimen, assess the threat, contain it, or eliminate it by any means necessary. Nobody in that chamber knew Duke's name. Nobody knew about the quiet young man who scratched behind his ears every evening. Nobody knew about the shed intruders who ran away without a single scratch on their bodies, simply because Duke had chosen to stand quietly and let his presence be enough. To the Council, Duke was not a companion. He was not a friend. He was a countdown, ticking toward a disaster 3,000 years in the making. Far away, on a cold gray mining moon, Ryan had no idea that a fleet was already preparing to leave, heading straight for his front door. 3 days later, the sky above Corvus 7 changed. Ryan noticed it first while repairing a broken generator outside his home. A shadow passed overhead, larger than any supply ship he had ever seen. Then another. Then several more. Within minutes, a full formation of unfamiliar vessels descended toward the colony's main landing field, engines glowing with a soft blue light, unlike anything local traders used. People across Corvus 7 stopped what they were doing. Nobody had ever seen ships like these. Sleek, dark, and clearly built for one purpose. Not trade. Not transport. Duke, lying near the doorway, lifted his head immediately. His body tensed. The glowing lines along his back brightened, pulsing faster than usual. A low sound rumbled from deep in his chest, quiet but unmistakable. "Duke," Ryan said, setting down his tools. "What's wrong, buddy?" Duke did not answer. Of course. But he stood, moved closer to Ryan, and positioned himself between his human and the direction of the landing field. Within the hour, armored figures moved through the colony. They were tall, wearing sleek gray suits marked with council insignia. They carried advanced scanning equipment, sweeping every building, every alley, every corner of Corvus 7. Colonists were told to stay indoors. Questions were asked at every home. It did not take long before the search reached the scrapyard. And then, Ryan's front door. A warden commander named Talix approached first, flanked by 4 armed escorts. Their scanners had already confirmed the reading from nearly 100 meters away. A biological signature matching threat-level Omega parameters. Confirmed. Exact location. This residence. Ryan stepped outside before they could knock. Duke followed close behind, his massive frame filling most of the doorway. Talix stopped walking. Even through the visor of an advanced combat suit, the reaction was visible. A slight step back. A hand hovering near a weapon. "Step away from the creature," Talix said, voice modulated through the suit's speaker, firm and controlled. "You are in the presence of a threat-level Omega organism. This is not a request." Ryan blinked, confused. "A what?" "He's just my dog," That creature, Talix said slowly, is a juvenile specimen of a species responsible for the collapse of 3 known civilizations. It is currently unrestrained, and according to our readings, already showing signs of accelerated development. Ryan looked down at Duke, who stood calmly beside him, tail low but steady, eyes locked on the armed figures in front of them. There was no snarling, no aggression, just quiet, careful awareness. "You're wrong," Ryan said. "I raised him since he was a baby. He's never hurt anyone. He scared off some thieves once, but that's it. He's not dangerous." Talix's tone did not soften. "Sir, I understand this is difficult to accept, but the data does not lie. Please step aside so containment procedures can begin." More wardens moved into position, forming a wide half-circle around Ryan's home. Weapons remained lowered, but ready. Ryan felt his heart pounding. He glanced at Duke, who had not moved, had not growled, had not shown a single sign of the destruction these strangers seemed so certain he was capable of. "Please," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the fear rising in his chest. "Just give me a minute. Let me show you." Talix hesitated. Protocol demanded immediate containment. But something about the scene in front of them, a fully grown Void Reaper specimen, standing calmly beside an unarmed human, showing no aggression whatsoever despite being surrounded by armed strangers, did not match a single historical record in the Council's archives. "1 minute," Talix finally said. "Nothing more." Ryan knelt down beside Duke, placing a hand on the creature's massive shoulder. "It's okay," he said softly. "Sit." Duke sat. The wardens exchanged glances behind their visors. According to every ancient record, according to every warning passed down for 3,000 years, a Void Reaper was supposed to be untamable, unpredictable, a force of pure destruction with no capacity for restraint. And yet, here it sat, obedient and calm, simply because one quiet human had asked it to. Talix lowered a hand slightly, silencing the escort's raised weapons. This was not what any briefing had prepared them for. "Contact command," Talix said quietly to the nearest escort. "Tell them we need more time. This does not match the threat profile." For the first time in 3,000 years, a Void Reaper specimen had been found, fully surrounded, fully capable of destruction, according to every historical account, and it had done nothing but sit quietly beside the person it loved. The standoff outside Ryan's home lasted through the night. Council command back on Threnos Prime received the field report within minutes. The information was, according to several senior officials, difficult to believe. A live Void Reaper specimen, fully cornered, showing complete behavioral restraint. No historical precedent existed for this. Every past encounter with the species, going back 3,000 years, had ended in catastrophic violence. An emergency research team was dispatched immediately, arriving on Corvus 7 within 2 days. Among them was Dr. Ileana Voss, a xenobiologist who had spent the past 15 years studying archived records of the Void Reaper species, records so restricted that only a handful of researchers across the galaxy had ever been granted access. Dr. Voss requested a direct meeting with Ryan. Talix arranged it cautiously, still under strict council supervision, with wardens stationed nearby, though noticeably less tense than before. Sitting across from Ryan, with Duke resting quietly at his side, Dr. Voss began asking careful questions. How had Ryan found the creature? How had he raised it? Had he ever trained it, disciplined it, treated it with any specialized technique? Ryan answered honestly. He had done none of that. He had simply found a scared, injured animal and taken care of it the way anyone might care for an abandoned pet. He fed it. He talked to it. He let it sleep near him at night. He treated it like family, because that was what it had become. Dr. Voss listened closely, then reviewed the extensive historical archive her team carried with them. Slowly, a theory began forming, one that would eventually reshape everything the Council believed about the species. According to the oldest surviving records, every previous encounter with a Void Reaper had followed the same pattern. The creature had been discovered by ancient civilizations, and almost immediately treated as a weapon. Captured, studied, restrained, forced into combat, experimentation, or attempts at military control. Every single documented case involved fear, force, or exploitation from the very beginning. Not one single record, in 3,000 years of documented history, showed a case where a Void Reaper had simply been raised with kindness. Dr. Voss presented her theory carefully to the Council through a secure transmission. It is possible, she explained, that the species' extreme aggression in historical accounts was not an inherent trait, but a learned response, a defensive reaction to captivity, fear, and hostility. This individual specimen appears to have developed an entirely different behavioral pattern, one rooted in trust and attachment, because it was never treated as a threat or a weapon in the first place. The theory was met with skepticism from many senior council members. 3,000 years of fear was not easily dismissed by a single unexpected case. But the evidence sitting quietly in front of them, calm despite being surrounded by armed wardens, was difficult to argue against. After extensive deliberation, the Council reached a decision unlike any in its long history. Rather than eliminate the specimen, they would allow limited, closely monitored observation. Ryan would be permitted to keep Duke, under strict but respectful oversight, becoming, whether he wanted the role or not, the center of the most important behavioral study the Council had ever conducted. Talix, before departing Corvus 7, approached Ryan one final time. In 3,000 years, Talix said, "No one has ever done what you did. You didn't tame a monster. You simply never treated him like one." Ryan looked down at Duke, who leaned against his leg, tail thumping softly against the ground. "He's not a monster," Ryan said quietly. "He's just my dog." For the first time in 3,000 years, the Council's ancient fear had a new ending. Not written in destruction, but in something far simpler, and far harder to explain in any official report. Loyalty. Here is the detail almost nobody talks about. Deep in the Council's oldest archives, researchers later found a single, nearly forgotten record. Thousands of years ago, one ancient civilization had also tried a gentler approach with a young Void Reaper. Records suggested this attempt failed, not because kindness didn't work, but because it came too late. That specimen had already spent years in captivity, already shaped by fear before anyone tried patience. Duke never experienced that fear. From his very first night, wrapped in a stranger's jacket beside a small heater, he only knew safety. That single difference, according to Dr. Voss's final report, may be the reason an ancient nightmare grew up gentle instead of dangerous. The galaxy's most feared weapon wasn't defeated by armies, weapons, or ancient wisdom. It was quietly reshaped by an ordinary man who simply chose to care first and ask questions later. If this opened your eyes to how much fear can distort the truth, you are going to want to see what happens next. Because deep in the same archive Dr. Voss studied, another sealed file was recently reopened. A second specimen. Different world. Different story. Still unfolding. So, let's remember what we just learned. A creature feared for 3,000 years turned out to be shaped by fear itself, not born from it. An entire council fleet, ready for war, was stopped by one calm, quiet command. Sit, and the galaxy's deadliest life form is now, officially, somebody's very good boy. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button right now. It truly helps this channel grow. If you're new here, welcome, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we bring you brand new HFY Sci-Fi story like this every single week. For those who want deeper dives into these universes, character breakdowns, and early access to upcoming stories, check the link in the description to join our newsletter. It's completely free, and you'll never miss a release again. Now I want to hear from you. If you found a creature like Duke, scared and alone in a broken pod, would you have done what Ryan did? Or would you have played it safe and called for help? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Stories like this only reach more people because of viewers like you. See you in the next one.